Gregory Mannarino, White today. It is Friday, June 2nd, 2017. It is early here on the west coast of the United States. It's 7 a.m. As a matter of fact, the stock market has only been open for half an hour. But I wanted to get this video out early. A lot of stuff going on here, and I want to try to make some sense of this because it's frankly, well, I don't even know the right word for it. Let's start off with this. We just got very bad economic news once again here. A huge miss with regards to jobs being added here in the United States. We also found out that wages are going nowhere once again. And we keep hearing about this is going to change. You know, every time we get one of these reports, oh no, it's going to change at the next one, it's going to change. It doesn't change. So let's try to sum this up real quick because it's laughable. Huge miss with regard to jobs. Meanwhile, we find out that the unemployment rate actually fell. But we also find out that the labor force participation rate also dropped. Does that make any sense to you? Of course it doesn't make any sense to you because you have a functioning brain. Look, these people that frankly broadcast these numbers, they could convince you that it's possible for an elephant to hang off of a cliff by his tail latched onto a daisy. Okay, does that sound familiar to you? But that's really what they could convince you of. And they're gonna fist feed the general public. Oh, the unemployment rate, it's down, so this is a good thing. Meanwhile, people are leaving the labor force again like there's no tomorrow here. And I think it's kind of interesting. Now, something else is going on that I've been talking about. In fact, I wrote an article on my steemit blog with regard to what's occurring here. So let's talk about the bond market. For whatever reason, right now, a huge amount of cash is making its way into the bond market. Into the bond market, pushing yields lower, flattening the yield curve even further. Okay. Now, let me put a perspective on this for you. We understand that the Fed is talking about, dumping their balance sheet, not investing in bonds anymore. So the largest buyer of bonds, bar none, is getting out of the market. Think about that. Leaving. Okay. Meanwhile, cash is now moving into the bond market, forcing those yields lower. Who's buying here? There must be such a great amount of fear with regard to institutional investors, despite what the stock market is doing. The stock market is actually lower right now as I am doing this video, just by a fraction. But cash is moving into the bond market despite the fact that the largest buyer of debt of them all in history is leaving. So that is a huge tell, huge, that something is not right here. What else is going on here? And something I've been talking about. The U.S. dollar is continuing its downward fall. It is down again today. So we got cash leaving the dollar. We got cash moving into bonds. We got cash coming out of crude oil. We got, again, these huge miss with regard to jobs numbers. Data that doesn't make any sense because it's all fake. So you can kind of get a handle on where this is all going here. And I really believe this. People, investors are not focusing on the bond market. And the bond market is giving us a warning big time. And it's actually screaming at us today with the U.S. 10-year yield now about 2.16. It was just 2.4 maybe just a couple of weeks ago. Huge amount of cash going into the safety of bonds. Meanwhile, the stock market hit records yesterday. Does this make any sense to any one of you that are listening to this? Of course it doesn't. Something is going on here, and this is going to balance out at one point. And I still sincerely believe it's going to be the stock market that is going to get punished When? Don't know, don't care, but it's going to happen. It could happen today. It could happen tomorrow. I mean, look at the signals that we're getting here from the bond market. Why is all of this cash moving into the bond market? Why? And again, the narrative from the mainstream is that we're in some type of an economic recovery. Where is it? Where is the recovery that all of you frank imbeciles are trying to convince all of us is there? Where is it? Okay? Wages are going nowhere. The U.S. dollar is getting weaker. Okay, if we were in a recovery, would you expect to see this? Professionals on the mainstream financial channels? So look, I don't know how any of you out there on the mainstream financial channels could actually sit there and spew garbage out of your mouths like this for any amount of money. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. And this, all of you are going to be held accountable for this when this whole shithouse goes up in flames, and people are going to look to you and wonder, what the hell were you talking about? We're seeing exactly the same types of things that we've seen at the top of every other bubble. I mean, people don't learn. They just don't learn. It's like they want to keep getting kicked in the ass over and over and over again, despite the signs that are everywhere across the sky, upside down, backwards, and sideways. They just want to have their asses handed to them over and over again so they can sit there and cry about, oh, well, no one told us this was going to happen. How did I let this happen? I lost my house. I lost my job. I lost my investments. It seems like that's what they want to do. It's laughable. And, you know, do these people deserve for being zombies, for being just so frankly ignorant to everything that is going on? Maybe they do deserve it. And maybe they just want this. Maybe, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are into punishment. There are a lot of people out there that, you know, like this kind of thing. They're into it. Maybe they're into that too. But look, none of this is making sense right now. And that bond market, people, is pointing towards an economic downturn which could be epic in the not so distant future. Again, I believe this flattening yield curve, which is going on right before our eyes today, you know, right now, is getting worse. Cash moving into the bond market despite the largest buyer getting out. So something is spooking the institutional investors into the safety of bonds. Meanwhile, they want you and everybody else to keep piling into that stock market here. I'm really wondering when, I don't care about this. I really don't even speculate. I wonder when this is going to correct. I really do. There's no way to tell because we are living in financial fantasy land where the distortions across the spectrum of asset classes is so great that when this does correct, it's going to make the 2008 event seem like a walk in the park. There's no doubt about it. This is what's going to happen, and this has been fostered by a runaway central bank, the Federal Reserve. And I can promise every single one of you that are listening to this that nobody is going to be held accountable for this. They're going to parade Janet Yellen out in front, just like they did to Ben Bernanke, and they're going to praise them. They're going to say, "Oh, you saved us," or whatever. Oh, they're going to come up with some reason to not hang these people. Believe me. Instead, they're going to turn them into heroes somehow. Again, as the wealth transfer occurs, because that's what's being set up here. There's no doubt about it, and I've gone over this so many times here. Just like last time, the major banks are going to bet against their own clients, and they're going to get little fines at the end, little pinpricks. Actually, not even pinpricks. Tickled is more like it. They're going to laugh. They never get held accountable for anything. It's just incredible. But that's what's going to happen here. There's no doubt about it. That yield curve is going to invert. If we stay on the path that we are currently riding along, there is no way to stop the yield curve from inverting. It's going to happen. And, I mean, you got the mainstream financial people out there. They're talking about the yield curve flattening. They're talking about the issue with the dollar getting weaker and weaker. This morning, they were talking about how the U.S. 10-year yield is dropping. Something is wrong. But then they move on. They immediately move on to the next topic here because they can't let you know that. They can't let you know that underneath this whole thing, the largest part of the market of them all by exponents, this is the bond market, is saying, people, something is wrong. Something is not right here, but ignore it. Don't worry about what's going on over there. Just look at the stock market. It's near and it's at all-time highs. So just keep looking over there. Do not look at what's going on in the bond market, which is giving us not only a sign here that there is big trouble coming, but I'm telling you, it is screaming at us louder and louder every single day. And people are going to suffer here, and I really hate to see that. So people need to get wise. People need to start thinking about a little bit down the line. Look, people tend to live in the moment, just like an animal does, or just like a child does. I'm talking about adults. They don't think about the future. They don't think about their investments. They don't think about how the bond market is saying, hey, wake up, everyone. They don't think about this. But I know if you follow this blog, you are well aware of what is going on right now. At least I am trying my hardest to put this into a perspective for you in this environment where nothing makes sense. Really doesn't. All right. With that said, it's Friday. Will this be the last video of the weekend? I have no idea. I'd like it to be. I know I went away. I didn't feel well. I went away to Dallas, had a nice little trip over there. But I'm going to try to get a little downtime in here, and we'll see if that plays out. Probably won't. I know myself, and I think most of you know me too. But if something does happen that you guys need to know about, I'm going to talk about it. I really think that things are just so twisted right now. And that bond market, let me tell you, it's got me shook up. It should have you shook up. That flattening yield curve that's being completely ignored, or more or less ignored, by the mainstream financial channels here. They're not talking about how we could possibly see an inverted curve. It's not even, no one's talking about that, because they all understand if they were to start talking about the yield curve inverting, I think it would spook a lot of people, and they would not want to buy stocks here, okay? Because the big banks here, they need you to buy stocks. Meanwhile, it seems that these institutions are letting the people, you and me or whatever, who other people want to get involved in this market, they want us all in there. Meanwhile, they're seeking safety in the bond market. Don't you see how this is adding up? It's really incredible, and it's happening right before our eyes. Meanwhile, the cheerleaders on the mainstream financial channels want you to believe everything is fine, despite bad economic news, despite what's going on the housing front. The top of this bubble, people, mark my words, we're at the top of a housing bubble. Again, it's everywhere. I know this video is getting kind of long, but I'm concerned about a lot of things, and I'm sure you are as well. I know if you follow this blog, you are becoming your own central bank. You are betting against this debt. I have no doubt that the Federal Reserve has indeed lost control. And let's put a perspective on that again before I let you go. How do we know the Federal Reserve has lost control? Well, look at what's going on here in the bond market again. The Fed is the largest buyer of bonds. The Fed has announced that they're going to dump their balance sheet. The Fed has announced they're not going to be reinvesting into the bond market anymore. They want to normalize things. Meanwhile, cash is going into the bond market right now. Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't. Something is going on here, people. I'm going to shut my mouth because this is a long video, but I think I covered a lot of important things. If you agree with me, please share this video. Thumbs up would help if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on steemit, also give me an upvote. Let's get this out there. Let's let people see this. Anyway, I hope you have a great weekend. I really do. And I will see you Monday.